different decision because even that wasn't enough. And you would think a black man from South Carolina could understand that. But no, instead, he's simply tap dancing on the dance card of the Republican Party.
Well, I think
Really, really quick. It's mind-boggling how one thing that Trump did, the best thing he did in his administration was show how fake the media is and how intellectually dishonest the news media is. Like, really, really bad how they coordinate together and they perpetuate narratives. We found out that the Russiagate stuff didn't happen. We found out there was no P tape. We found out even the stuff with Giuliani, they're reporting it right now, and it's like what they're reporting didn't happen. And other journalists are G-checking other journalists on Twitter, and they're blocking them like, yo, you going to put the retraction? You're going to put the right things that were said? But one thing that was funny to me, though, is watching the response to um, Tim Scott and Kamala Harris being asked the same question. She's actually responding to him, and all the black media, even white media, got to tap in. Joel Behar and The View, hot women get to talk about how black men see race in America and whatnot. Now, be that as it may, Tim was tap dancing in his art, in his statements and whatnot. But I'm not obtuse enough to not know that no politician, especially a black Republican in South Carolina, is going to make that statement that y'all want to hear. Likewise, I understand why, top cop Kamala isn't going to make that statement either because she wants to be president. They killed Michelle Obama because she said, for the first time in my life, I feel proud to be an American. It had a lot of people had these delusions of grandeur with her running for president or even VP, and I'm like, that would have been brought up and that would have been used against her. Would it have worked? Maybe not because they wanted Trump out, but you can't say those things and be in that position. But for whatever reason, all the wokey wokes want you to come out of that and say how you really feel or whatever. Even though I'm starting to realize how much censorship we do have in this country. I might do a video about it later, but I was watching one of my mans do a he wanted to comment on Kevin Samuels, and literally he was doing a podcast with his boy on Facebook. Literally, the moment they started talking about some of the stuff that he said, both their women came out of wherever proximity of the home they was in, and they just took over these dudes' show. So like, then you watch the Joe Budden podcast with Kevin Samuels. Is like he's on eggs and needles and barely did any talking. Ice and Ish did most of the conversing. And he talked about how he got calls and women were mad at him because so it's like, you know, it is crazy how much censorship people do have. How much people aren't real because they know that if they say something how they really feel, their audience is gonna turn on them or they're gonna lose in sponsorships, whatever. But likewise, back to the point, politicians are in the same boat and they're even worse at it, and we should be used to that by now. But the problem I have though is not that either of them said that it's not a racist country and they both tap dance and tiptoed around it. The problems I have as black media and media in general responding to what they both said. They both said the same shit. It's like I remember when Dr. Ben Carson said something about um, not being immigrants and whatnot, and I'm like, well, Obama said the same shit too. And the mental gymnastics that people do to try to justify their niggercrat saying the same thing that the conservatives said is mind-boggling. I know not to talk to niggercrats at work. I know not to do it, especially the old black dudes. But I was just like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I might do a video later. So let me go ask this nigger cat, yo, so why do you think that they're killing Tim Scott in the media and they're not killing Kamala the same way when she essentially said the same thing? He looked wrong. He looked bad as a black man. Like, but okay. But Kamala said the same thing, right? Like, yeah, but still though, um, I'm like, oh, Clyburn in South Carolina, a black man. So you can take it off that he's a black man and he should say it differently than her. He said the same thing. Well, they doing more for black people, and no, he didn't say that. My bad. He said they're doing more for the people and this and that, and they doing better. I'm like, what? I said, what has black people got from this Biden administration the first 100 days? Well, it ain't about black people. It's about Americans. I'm like, oh, so what about the transgender bill that was specifically for them, or what about the Asian, hate crime bill specifically for them? Like, oh, just walked away silent, right? Don't talk to nigga crats about politics, man. It'll hurt your brain. But he couldn't even answer the question on why the media did that. I actually played Call of Duty today. I was playing some Warzone earlier, and Boyce was actually in the lobby, and I kind of asked him the same thing, but he ain't, it seemed like he wanted to play the game and not get into the politics talks. But he didn't really converse about it. But he was surprised to hear that Kleinberg said the same thing too. But yeah, I'm like, this shit is mind-boggling though. Like Charlemagne, he gave her donkey today with Tim Scott, and he pointed out the hypocrisy from the Democrats on this issue. But he still his delivery was different to her. It was more like, let me give you some advice on what you should have said, versus they killed Tim Scott on Twitter and he deserved it, right? Gave them both donkey today, but his responses to each one of them saying it is mind-boggling, and especially when you're the Democrat and you support the defund the police and all this wokey woke stuff that Democrats are co-signing verbally, but not doing it back by policy, because it keeps their morale up and people want to support that party. But that was just real quick, man. Like it is. I don't even have the words to say how. Like I watched Roland Martin have his segment with a bunch of Democrats, and they go in and they just pause, and they killing Tim Scott. It just all types of black intellectual blue checks, Ivy Tower nigger cats just going in, right? And even the one chick gonna say he's a Republican, he supports school choice, he supports this, he supports that, he won't do gun control. And I'm like, thinking off my list of my head, is looking at his panel. Roland allegedly supports school choice as well. He didn't interject, he didn't butt in. And the one thing about that's funny too is the chick said he supports school choice despite what the educators say. But that's just no. You mean what the union says? Shout out to the former superintendent of schools in Chicago. She stepped down today, but she was a woman who put the kids before the union, and now she's out of there because Mary Lori Lightfoot is doing too much. But I'm just like, you had a whole segment, and that's not the worst part. Roland, who tap danced for Hillary, and we all saw him tap dancing for Hillary, gonna say Tim is tap dancing. He was. I'm not gonna knock his seat to that point. Nigga, you tap dance for the Democratic Party too. You've been doing it for a long time, right? You ain't even getting votes. You just want to get some journalistic jobs and go to the White House a few times and ask some questions. He has more to lose than you do, and you tap dance for Hillary like crazy. That was mind-boggling. But then when he goes and says, he lashes out at black people for saying, well, Kamala's running for president. She can't say it. I'm like, wait a minute. You let your entire panel kill Tim Scott. You know why he did it. You know he wants to get reelected too. You know he's a black man in South Carolina. One, probably will never be another one. And as a senator, so you know what he did, what he had to do. Yet you let your panel get in his ass. You let the white woman Jane Elliott, the queen of wokeness, and y'all white queen, y'all let her. You play information from her, or she even came on your show to address it. All these people addressing what Tim Scott said. None of that smoke was going to Kamala. She said the same exact shit. None of these news outlets that crossed the line, none of these white liberal journalists who tried to fact check him and try to minimize his family story, none of them is going to make that same critique of Kamala Harris and her backstory and where she comes from. It's just mind-boggling. Like, it literally hurts your brain to see. Well, damn, y'all killing that man. Okay, cool. He tap dance. He's a politician. That's what they do. He a black Republican, whatever. I do question what responsibility do black Republicans have to the black community, period. I think none, but we're going to talk about that some other time. But I understand that. But y'all, Queen, now I heard that, I didn't see it yet. They said that Amanda Seals, she might have regretted what her, black girl, Indian girl magic said. I'm gonna have to go look at that after I do this video because she might be one of the people in that space. Maybe because Charlamagne he gave her donkey today, so it's like you can't hide from it. Like all the people in the media are gonna hide from it. But the biasness and it's just crazy. Like, yo, they said the same shit. Then Clyburn doubled down. Then Joe Biden came and said the same thing. They all get passed. Them the people, he's in a position of power, most powerful man in the world, allegedly, right? He said it. He not getting no smoke. He not getting killed. Kamala said it. And then the intellectual honesty of saying, okay, I know they're politicians, they're not gonna say that. Let me say that for you, right? That's the whole thing with like one thing I do respect about Farrakhan is he knows being next to him and being associated with him is not good for you. Like so he knows if you can have a conversation with him in the back doors and be like, yo, this is what it is, but then in public you say something different. He comprehends that. I know he does because he said it before, right? He knows that being next to him is gonna hurt you politically, hurt your career. Unfortunately, a lot of black men keep publicly having to apologize for being close to him or whatever, even when there was no need to have an apology. If you say, "Oh, he had a great sermon," and that's it, and then the white liberals and the conservatives all attack you, talking about repudiate him again. Don't like Tamika Mallory at all, but I gotta respect. She's one of the few that got called on that, and she stood her ground. She didn't back down. You're not gonna make me condemn somebody because of whatever reasons. This is how I feel about those issues, but I'm not about to condemn this man. I don't condemn anybody. Again, she's the only one that said that. We've seen a lot of black men looking like bitches. For us, by us, he was one of the recent dudes who had to cut cave. They got, you know, they got Nick Cannon out here buck broken. They got Mark Lamont Hill out of here, got fired twice over them three-letter alphabet people. But yeah, that's just my video. This shit is mind-boggling. How y'all can say the same shit and then, cause there's that. Like I think about that, cause I was listening to this old dude talk about, you know, Obama, and I'm trying to frame how do you say this, cause like they're saying, well, they only cock block Obama because he's a black man. Me, not the one with drop ruler, so I don't see him that way. But I'm like, it was because he's a black man Democrat, right? Because had a black Republican won, if he was biracial or not, he wouldn't have got cock blocked because he supports their policy. So it's like, how do you word that? It's not just the race, it's the race and the party. You can't separate the two. Because if you've seen Colin Powell was a Republican and he was on the head and his party did that to him, then you have a point. But when it's the opposition, other side of the party, and you do some dirt shit to them, or you cock block, or you obstruct, or whatever, because I'm like, Trump is orange. He ain't black or white. And his own party obstructed him too. He had to beef with Democrats, the media, and half of his own party. But that's it. Crazy shit, crazy. This nigga Roland gonna say Tim Scott was tap dancing. This man is wild. He was, but so do Roland.
Enough to not fall for it. That's why I think it's people. And again, I'm not. Y'all people know I went after Obama on a lot of stuff. I'm not covering up with Vice President Harris. She could not answer the question the way a bunch of us probably would answer the question because she knows she's the one who might be running for president one day. And guess what? White folks vote.
Well, and she's the second highest ranking official over United States of America. So the expectation that she is going to say that she is helping to run a racist country is not, it's not a realistic expectation. We understand that politicians have their role, and those of us who are not politicians have our role, and we as journalists have a role to tell the truth. That's not necessarily the same role that politicians have all the time. They have to speak to their constituents. I think that we have to